Sweet Fancy Moses. We watched Season 8, Episode 4, The Little Kicks. So, Katie.
Hello.
Hi. How'd you like The Little Kicks?
It's a good episode.
Oh, okay.
Like I said last week, I've obviously seen Elaine's Little Kicks.
Definitely something that entered the zeitgeist.
Yeah. But I thought she had danced before in the show.
I'm trying to recall when that would have been, and I'm not coming up with anything.
I can't think of specifically when, but I feel like we've seen her dance before.
I feel like it would have been pointed out in the research that I did for this episode.
Okay.
Like, trivia. In episode 3, you can see Elaine dancing in the background. Yeah. Are we to believe this is some kind of magic xylophone?
Did you like this episode?
Not as much as I thought I was going to. I think maybe because it's something that, obviously has lasted so long, as we talked about, 20 years later, teams are doing, Elaine dancing nights on the field.
And so we talked about how she's wearing the flower dress, or like when people are doing an Elaine impression, they wear like a dowdy flower dress. And in the flashback in this episode, she's wearing the dowdy flower dress. So they are technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. So I liked Kramer in his relation to Elaine and Jerry and George, but I did not like Brody. I felt like this was, I know Larry Charles is not writing anymore, but it felt like a Larry Charles episode. Like we're going to introduce some wacky character.
I think probably the storyline that I enjoyed the most was George's.
Yeah.
And him, like, fish out of water, trying to be a bad boy.
Mm-hmm. Works for me.
This is the episode that you saw, and it started your affections for Jason Alexander.
No, for George.
Should I buy a GTO?
Yes. Is that your orthopedic support pillow? Is that your fiber? You drink fiber drinks. You're the age of person who needs to buy a GTO.
I don't take it in pill form, though.
Well, that makes a difference.
So this episode was written by Spike Ferenstein. It was directed by Andy Ackerman, and it aired on October 10th, 1992. Vulture.com ranked it as the 22nd best episode. Screen Crush had it at a much more reasonable 60th. But IMDb had it up narrowly inside the top 20 at 19.
Wow.
And a 8.9 out of 10.
That's high. People like the Little Kicks.
I think...
Like you've said... People's rankings, whether it's Screen Crush or IMDb or whatever, is in retrospect. They're now watching the episode again.
So there's like, it entered the zeitgeist. The episode is like titled, like it's a very easy storyline. Yeah. You can remember like Elaine dances crazy at her party. Her staff doesn't like her anymore. Like I remember this scene, like everybody dancing on the street at the end. I don't think before I watched it, like I didn't remember, like I remembered the bootlegging storyline, but I didn't remember that it related to this. So I just remembered like some reason, like everybody finds out that's how she dances. So I think it like... Did
you remember the George Bad Boy storyline?
I knew that was a storyline. I didn't know which episode it was in. The tag, I know we're jumping right to the end, where Elaine and... Elaine and Frank Costanza are like fighting in the thing. They had to film that a whole bunch of times because they just like kept laughing at each other when they were fighting. I
thought you were going to say they had to film it a whole bunch of times because she actually hit him.
No, he would say like, "What the hell does that mean?" And Julia Louis-Dreyfus would burst out laughing. I do think that that's like, my boy isn't clever enough to come up with a scheme like this. Well, you got that right. What the hell does that mean? I think that is by far the best part of this episode. The funniest, the cleverest exchange.
I do like the hate between Frank Costanza and Elaine. I know she took his Reader's Digest, but he already hated her then. Why? Do we ever know why?
I don't know.
So who are the guest stars?
As I said, we had Jerry Stiller reprising his role as Frank Costanza. Do you think he's a Francis Costanza? Francisco?
His Italian roots, all the town full of Costanzas.
So the new guest stars we had Neil Gwintolin? No, Neil Gwintoli, who played Brody, the bootlegger. He was on the Jeff Foxworthy Show, Sons of Thunder, and The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, wow.
Then we had Rebecca McFarland, who played Anna. She was on a handful of episodes of 2.5 Men, a pairing of episodes of Grey's Anatomy, and some TV series called Faking It.
Speaking of Grey's Anatomy and Faking It, have you heard of this docuseries Anatomy of a Lie? Or Anatomy of Lies or something like that? I just watched it. I heard about it on the Deeper Dive podcast. Anyway, this is a tangent, but it's all about this TV writer who lied about a bunch of stuff, wrote for Grey's Anatomy, and then just continued to lie about her entire life and manipulated tons of people, and it's a wild and crazy ride.
I mean, I think most TV writers are lying. They're just making stuff up for the episode to happen. It didn't actually occur.
Well, here's the thing. She would claim that things were happening to her and then use that experience and pathos to write an episode, and was nominated for awards and stuff. It's oh, she's so brave. It's her own experience, and this episode is so meaningful. And I don't watch Grey's. I thought it was. I've never seen it, but from the clips I saw from this documentary, the writing is not great.
Aren't there 40 years? Hasn't Grey's Anatomy been on television for 40 years? Not 40 years. I'm exaggerating.
It's been on a long
20?
time. Anywho, let's throw it back to last week when I asked you if you remember this episode.
Elaine hosts a corporate event and dances.
And?
I think I nailed it.
Jinx. I'll read the synopsis. Elaine displays her embarrassing dancing skills. Jerry gets involved in bootleg filmmaking. George acts like a bad boy to woo Elaine's employee. So again, we have this opening scene that has nothing to do with anything else. Right? This is the theme that's in season 8. Jerry and Kramer are walking on the sidewalk, and they're talking about the most dangerous part of the sidewalk.
So this was actually a line from when Spike Ferenstein used to do stand-up.
Okay.
And he used to talk about whether or not you should walk next to the curb where you get hit by a car, or walk on the inside where you get crushed by an air conditioner. So it's in the realm, and it's a stand-up-y thing. Oh, I feel like all of these, did the stand-ups have nothing to do with the episodes? Early on, I think the stand-ups tried to really have something to do with the episodes, but it drifted more and more as the...
But this is truly nothing.
It's quite a non sequitur.
I always move our kid to the inside and walk on the outside, on the dangerous side of the sidewalk.
You're not walking past apartment buildings that have window air conditioning. Window-mounted air conditioners?
Statistically, a car is not going to jump the curb and hit us. But my parents always did that to me, and I'm always going to put her on the inside.
I mean, the instances of cars hopping curbs versus air conditioners falling out of windows, I think that's the right ratio. If you want to play the odds, that's what you
want the air conditioner.
Oh yeah.
Well, Kramer says he'd rather get the air conditioner. Jerry would rather get hit by a cab.
I mean, my first question to you was going to be, would you rather get hit by a car or crushed by an? I think the verb I used was brained by an air conditioner.
You know what? Jerry has a point. Cabs are... So SUVs are much higher vehicles. If you get hit by an SUV, you're probably going to die. If you get hit by a cab, it would probably just take your legs out. Mm-hmm. So best case scenario, you're in a wheelchair, but you're alive. Mm-hmm. And hopefully your brain is functioning unless you smack it on the pavement. Mm-hmm. But if an air conditioner falls on your head, what's your quality of life going to be if you survive?
It's true.
Why does Kramer say, I'd rather take one to the head like I did in 1979?
They were trying to make something funny.
It didn't work.
It explains how he's an oddball.
What would you rather have, cab or AC?
Probably cab.
Yeah. If the two of us are walking down the sidewalk, are you putting me on the inside? No. The answer is no.
I think it depends. I have to be on the inside because it's closer to the building in case any ruffians jump out and try and mug us. I gotta protect you.
I see.
Mm-hmm. You get the escape route into the street.
Yep. I thought it was funny when Elaine's showing her quote-unquote toxic waste green nails, which also has nothing to do with anything.
Nope.
Whereas now, like, painting your nails that color, I was like, oh, that's a nice springy green color.
Yeah, this is very, fashionable today.
Yeah. And the social norms were so rigid in the 90s.
How dare you paint your nails green?
Mm-hmm. So she's going to throw a party to thank her employees for working so hard. And George gets wind of it, and he's like, George, party?
How awkward is this?
Very.
Yeah. Would you ever want to go to, your best friend is like, it's not a Christmas, it's just a company we're doing well party.
Well, think of it George's perspective. There's drinks, there's food, there's women he doesn't know yet.
I want to know, so this is based off the weather, this is October-ish? It's airing in October.
Honey, we are well into October.
What does George have going on during the days? Because he's like, while Elaine and Anna are at work, they call him. He's in his living room ironing his pants. He's at the coffee shop. He's at the park. So is this off season for the Yankees? Doesn't have to go into work.
I guess they didn't make the playoffs.
But then I was like, do head office people I assume that's a year-round gig. Maybe
they have more of a work from home.
You gotta come into the office
3 days a week thing. Yeah. Because, why would you need to be physically there? Why would you actually need to physically be at Yankee Stadium for his job anyway?
I don't know why George, he's not doing anything anyways, so.
No, but none of the executives need to be there. But I'm assuming that he left during the day to meet Anna. He's not a good employee. He's a bad employee. He's a bad friend. He's a bad son. Now he's the bad boy.
Bad tipper.
This episode had good stuff in it.
So production note, during the scene where Julia Louis-Dreyfus had to dance, initially they played the music, but she found it hard not to dance on the beat, so they had to not play the music, and she just had to dance in silence. They filled in the music afterwards.
I like that. She looked like she was going to fall down many times. It's hard to really dance bad.
Unless you only really dance bad, and then it's quite easy to do.
Here's to those who wish us well, and those who don't can go to hell. I like this toast, but she should have said something nice to her employees for working hard.
Sure.
But they liked it.
It got a lot of laughs.
So, do you remember we went to some wedding and we just hung out by where the servers were coming out of the kitchen so that we could get hors d'oeuvres first because we kept missing them and they were running out.
You're going to have to be more specific. I tried to do that at every wedding.
It wasn't our wedding because they specifically brought us the hors d'oeuvres so we wouldn't miss them.
So Jerry has gotten 2 tickets to a sneak preview of Death Blow.
Mm-hmm.
In the made-up film universe of Seinfeld, I think Death Blow is probably the film I'd want to go see the most.
We're missing the Death Blow.
That or Prognosis Negative?
Not Rochelle?
No. Or Cry Again.
Death Blow sounds the most plausibly like a movie that exists.
Mm.
Are we sure it's not like a Van Damme movie? Or hasn't been made one since?
I mean...
Death Note? Is Death Note a movie?
Death Note is a movie. Death Blow is a movie. There are 2 movies named Death Blow. One came out in 2023. The other came out in 1987. And it is titled Death Blow, A Cry for Justice. What?
What's going on?
Death Blow, A Cry for Justice. Oh, its original title was War, Women Against Rape.
Oh my God.
When a man dodges conviction after raping multiple women, his victims take justice into their own hands. Oh, okay. The first time I read it, I thought the man who avoided getting convicted for raping women was also doing the blowing up.
People with guns don't understand.
That's why they got the guns.
It's a series of misunderstandings.
Did you see the Healthy Choice ice cream that Kramer was digging into?
Healthy Choice Vanilla. I didn't look up to see if that was real.
I feel like I remember that. Those green boxes. I feel like they made like cookies.
Snackwells?
It was like Snackwells, yeah.
I've never had a Snackwell. Have you?
Probably.
So this brings up a question I wanted to talk about. Jerry doesn't know Brody.
Nope.
At the movie theater, Brody sits on...
Oh, no, you should go like Jerry Kramer.
Yeah. How do you get rid of someone from your life who's weird and who knows where you live?
Ghost.
What if they show up? Brody just shows up.
Nobody shows up anymore. When was the last time somebody showed up at this house? I mean, Brody never comes back, so I guess the problem solves itself.
I did like Jerry's, auteur flouncing when he didn't like the setup for filming Cry Again.
I'm going to need 3 cameras, 2 on the floor, 1 on the balcony, headsets.
I keep wanting to mention I like Jerry's napkin holder.
Oh, your search for a napkin holder.
I'm still not happy, but it's like a stamped metal thing. It's got some design on it. Looks nice. But I bet you when you try and pull one out, they all fall out.
The Venn diagram of affordable, aesthetic, functional napkin holder. You can't find your...
I actually think the best one was the stupid IKEA one with the weight on it. Because you would lift up the silver weight and just take the top napkin and then put it back. Yeah. But it was also the ugliest.
Oh. I think the one that we had before this one was better than the one we have now.
Yeah. With the claw.
You're very napkin focused. You came from a napkin-positive household.
No.
We never had napkin.
What did you wipe your hands on?
Sink and wash our hands.
Well, you know what? We have a child. Kids are messy. We have to be a napkin-positive household.
I was a child.
I'll just wet a rag and throw it in front of you next time you eat.
Okie dokie. So one thing about the George and Elaine storyline, maybe both of those storylines together, that I didn't understand, or I didn't think really worked well, is Elaine is playing Anna's mother in the you stay, my
stay
daughter,
away from that boy.
Stay away from that boy. But then at the office, she's like a teacher who can't control her students. I didn't feel like that work together because then Anna comes in and she has to switch into mother mode.
She's the authority figure nobody's listening to. She's a woman.
That's not true, Katy. Women are not authority figures.
Have you noticed on Jerry's fridge before there was a magnet that said create your own series?
I didn't see that, no.
And the outside shot, I know it's probably the same one every time of the diner, but I managed to read one of the signs in the window, and it said special bread macaroni.
What is bread macaroni?
I don't know. He tried to lamb, but they cheesed him.
Yeah.
You say it.
I was going to look up the rest of the. How does it start?
Jerry, George got arrested. He tried to lamb, but they cheesed him.
I thought there was a line in between when they said he got arrested.
Okay, look it up. I got to look something up.
So, interestingly, Seinfeld scripts has the line as, he went at the beak man, he tried to land, but they cheesed him.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
What's the beak man?
The police officer?
I thought that they used the exterior of the same police station that's the Brooklyn Nine-Nine building, which is not the 99th, because I don't think there is one. It's like the 78th precinct. But it looked familiar. Or maybe they all look like that. I don't know.
Generic police building.
Yeah. And then Elaine takes a swing at Frank. I don't like the freeze frame ending.
I think they needed to do that because they started laughing.
Well, did they originally plan for her to hit him on camera? Like, how are they going to end that scene?
True. Bread is his soul. He's buying back a loaf of his soul.
I wrote bread is his soul. Well, that's kind of all I had.
Yeah, what's up next week?
Next is The Package. What's it about?
Not to spoil anything, but Kramer attempts to commit mail fraud on Jerry's behalf.
I have a correction.
Okay.
Last week, we talked about James Polk, and you guessed that he was president in 1910-ish, and I guessed 1875-ish, and we were way off. He was 1845-ish.
Oh, well, there we go.
He was the 11th president. That's all.
The only thing that I wanted to share, and I've had this for a couple of weeks, but Jerry Seinfeld has publicly walked back his comments about how the radical left were killing comedy.
Oh, wow. That's good.
And he regrets saying it. He said it's not true. You can't say certain words about groups. So what?
Okay. Was there an I'm sorry?
There's no I'm sorry. He makes a veiled metaphor to a ski champion placing gates on the hill. Do you want to just read it?
Yeah.
I said that the extreme left had suppressed the art of comedy. I did say that. That's not true. It's not true. If you're a champion skier, you can put gates anywhere you want on the mountain and you're going to make the gate. That's comedy. Whatever the culture is, we make the gate. You don't make the gate. You're out of the game. The game is where the gate. The game is where is the gate, and how do I make the gate to get down the hill?
He's losing me in this metaphor.
Does culture change, and are things that I used to say I can't because people are always moving the gate? Yes, but that's the biggest and easiest target. You can't say certain words about groups. So what? The accuracy of your observation has to be 100 times finer than that just to be a comedian. So I don't think, as I said, the extreme left has done anything to inhibit the art of comedy.
Oh. Well, okay.
There's a quote in the article by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. There's a lot of talk about how comics can't be funny now. I think that's bullshit.
Well.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Believe it or not, this is our podcast. Please subscribe at the end. If you subscribed, we would be happy. Please subscribe to us. Believe it or not, it's our podcast.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?